How's it going, everybody? It's Pilot Flame, and we are back with another FPL video. And it's time. It's Game Week 1, the week leading up to Game Week 1 before Arsenal and Brentford kick off on Friday. I am super excited. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at my current draft, my latest draft as it stands, and some tinkering that I've been doing with it. We'll see some various different options based on some transfer developments that have been happening and ways to potentially get those players in. So if you haven't done so already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. I'm not going to let you down. You're going to have plenty of videos coming throughout the season, so make sure to turn those notification bells on as well so that you can get the videos as soon as they are readily available. Also, we have an FPL league, so make sure to go join that. It is in the Twitter bio, and drop us a follow over there as well at the same time. And tomorrow we're going to be starting off with our first preview stream of the season, so make sure to give us a follow over on Twitch. Links are all down in the description below, but you can also just search Pilot Flame 226 on all platforms. We'll be doing preview and deadline streams every week for the entire FPL season. Now, without further ado, let's talk about our partners for the FPL season with Fantasy Football Scout. We have partnered up with Fantasy Football Scout for this coming Fantasy Premier League season, and they're giving you an exclusive offer. Use the link down in the description to get 20% off your Fantasy Football Scout membership. It gives you access to the exclusive members area, which has new tools such as the 3-player comparison tool, as well as some old favorites such as the Rate My Team tool, the Season Ticker, and my personal favorite, the fully customizable stats tables, which you can share among other Fantasy Football Scout members, powered by Opta Stats. Use the link down in the description below to get 20% off your membership today. Sign up now. So this is my current FPL draft as we stand at the moment. I've been really liking either a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2. I've kind of dabbled with other formations, but the 3-5-2 is kind of what I've settled on based on some interesting developments over the last week or so from one of the players that you'll see as a differential, a couple at least, that I've been very impressed by. So let's start off with the goalkeepers here. I think a 4.5 and a 4.0 goalkeeper is the way to go. There's only one real consideration for me, and that's Meslier from Leeds United. But I think that he is someone who has a few tougher fixtures off the start. Yes, he'll maybe get some save points, but you're kind of counteracting yourself right off the bat with, United players potentially being in your team with the good run that they have in the opening 6. So I think that it's down to the 4.5 goalkeepers. And the two that I have in mind are Sanchez from Brighton and Bachmann from Watford. Now, Sanchez is supposedly the number 1 at Brighton. He's probably not going to get you as many save points as potentially Bachmann would, but I think that Brighton are system-oriented enough so that they can keep clean sheets. Now, they are getting kind of dwindled at the back, as it were, but, the likes of Veltman and Dunk are still in there, so I think they should be okay. The only other goalkeeper that I'm considering is Bachmann. He's probably going to be more saves-oriented, and I think that he could be good as well. We do have Bachmann's backup in Foster, as there are rumors that Bachmann could be leaving on a transfer over to Ajax. Those are just the rumors at the moment. But as it stands now, these are my two goalkeepers. I don't think paying any more than 8.5 million is going to be worth it for goalkeepers. It's a very basic position. You want to get someone who's either getting clean sheets or saves. If we can find one that does both, like how Emi Martinez did last season, that would be fantastic. Moving on to the defense here. So Trent Alexander-Arnold, don't really need to speak too much about him. He is going to be a set and forget potentially for the entire season. Liverpool's fixtures off the start are fantastic. They do have a couple of games here and there that are going to be difficult, but they are considered one of the big four, the top 4 teams in the league. So I think that Trent, even if he doesn't keep a clean sheet, he's going to get attacking returns. And he has a fantastic fixture off the start versus Norwich. So I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. Luke Shaw, another one. Again, he had the rib injury after the Germany game in the Euros, but seems to have, overcome that and was playing for United as they battered Everton 4-0. In their last preseason game yesterday. So I think at 5.5 million, I think he's too cheap, to be honest. I think he could have easily been 6 million, and he's on set pieces as well. He got an assist off Harry Maguire's header in yesterday's game as well. 5.5 million, I think he's kind of nailed on, assuming that he's not injured or lack of fitness of any kind. So he's straight in there as well. The last premium spot is Luca Digne, who I have in here at the moment. Now, Everton obviously didn't look great. I don't think Luca Digne did anything particularly wrong, but I think that Everton kind of suffered a bit from the lack of a focal point up front. They kind of just had Townsend and Demarai Gray and Iwobi kind of up front, kind of not really anyone to play the ball to. And so when I think Calvert-Lewin comes back, or if Moise Kean, I believe, is still there, if they have someone who they can cross the ball into, because I think that's what Benitez's identity is going to be oriented around, more of an aerial threat up front, I think Digne could do quite well. And, you know, with James Rodriguez potentially not necessarily going to be there for much longer, he's been rumored to be linked away from the club. Sigurdsson has his own off-field issues at the moment, would mean that Digne could be on pretty much all the set plays. And we know with Digne being on set plays, he is very good at crossing the ball from corners, taking free kicks. He is fantastic. So 5.5 million with Everton's fixtures, who arguably have the best fixtures, he could be quite good. In defense, of 4.5 million. Don't really think it needs to be overthinking this too much. I think Ayling is perfectly fine. I think Ben White is perfectly fine. But in, game out, I'm going to be playing my 3 premium defenders. I just want someone off the bench who's going to be potentially okay there. And I think Ayling is going to be that. I think later down the line, he could be someone that we use when Leeds' fixtures turn a few game weeks from now. And then lastly, I'm going to try to pronounce this right. Omobamidele, I think that's how I got it right. He's a 4 million Norwich defender who's been playing a lot of minutes in preseason. And if he's starting for Norwich week in, week out, we're not necessarily going to play him. But he's someone who could get points off our bench if we need him as a third slot for 4 million, which would be quite nice. And also Norwich's fixtures turn a few weeks into the season as well for the better. So maybe we might get some use out of him. But he's just in there as a 4.0 slot at the moment. Moving on to the midfield. Now, this is where I've gone with some interesting picks here. Now, we'll start off with the obvious ones. Mohamed Salah, I mean, he should be in 100% of teams. He is just going to have the best few captaincy options in the opening 6. I think there's only like 2. I think it's Gameweek 3 and 4 where he plays like Chelsea. In one of those games where he's not necessarily going to be the best captaincy option, but Game Week 1, he's locked in captain, no questions asked. I went without him last season, got burnt for it, so that's not happening again. Bruno Fernandes, same thing. Talisman scored a free kick, will be on set plays, takes corners from the right-hand side, on penalties as well. United have strengthened in attack. Bruno's still playing like the number 10-ish style of role, getting in the box, getting shots off, and look lively in the game versus Everton as well. I think, again, he is nailed in. No questions asked. I don't see him leaving my team either. Now, with the midfield, I think there's a lot of cheaper midfielders that could be quite nicely priced. So we'll start off with Emi Buendia. I think he is someone who is being potentially, hyped up and is someone that I believe in the hype. I think he's very good in terms of attacking, in terms of playing the balls in behind. He seems to be linking up with Watkins. We can only see and hope that he's able to do that with Danny Ings. And at the time of recording, it's about 45 minutes before Villa kick off in their last preseason game as well. And both Ings and Watkins are in the lineup. I can't remember if Buendia is, but we'll have to see where they're playing. Because if Ings is playing through the middle, then Buendia could be looking towards Ings in order to get those through balls in behind. And Ings is obviously a very, veteranized striker, as it were, and is someone who knows where to pick up these sorts of positions. And Buendia is going to be that sort of creator. Ings will also be on penalties as well, but we'll mention that when we talk about Danny Ings. And I think for 6.5 million with the fixtures that they start off with, I think it's a no-brainer. You can easily swap him to the likes of Rafinha as well. And we have 0.5 million in the bank, as you can see on the graphic. So that if Rafinha goes up in price or whatever, we can always get to those midfielders if we need to. Harvey Barnes is someone who I thought was very impressive in his game in the Community Shield versus Man City. Although there was heavily rotated squads and they were making multiple substitutions, I thought he's been quite good. He's very direct, gets shots off inside the box, and is often one of the main threats in behind for Leicester. And I think for 7 million, he could be very, very good. And he has pretty good fixtures off the start. Very decent fixtures, and I think that when he was playing, I really liked him. I had him in my team, and then he got injured. And it was, well, is he going to come back and do the same as what he was doing before he got injured? And the answer seems to be yes for the time being. So he's in there. I really like him a lot. Lastly, Ben Rama is someone who's in my FPL team at the moment. And for 6 million, I didn't know he was this cheap. He's cheaper than Jared Bowen. He's cheaper than the likes of Leon Bailey over at Aston Villa, who's just come in. And he seems to be kind of playing the all action, all everything kind of role at West Ham, because Jesse Lingard, as of the time of recording, has not signed yet. I think United want too much money for Jesse Lingard, and West Ham are not willing to go that route. And they may look for a backup striker rather than kind of a number 10, because they do have players that can play that role. Fornals can play there, Ben Rama can play there, Bowen can play there. They have a bunch of different players that can kind of work in that role. But I think Ben Rama is being that sort of guy. He reminds me a lot of probably a similar haircut as well at times, of Riyad Mahrez. He likes to take shots, he likes to dribble at players, he likes to get the ball, he's always wanting the ball, and he's always going direct and at the goal, which is exactly what we want. Now, the other 6 million midfielder that could potentially be in the spot would be Ismail Assar from Watford, but I think that West Ham's fixtures are good off the start as well, and I would like to go with something potentially a little bit different. And again, we still have the 0.5 million, so that if Ben Rama, let's say it's not working out or whatever, then we can always go to the likes of Rafinha later on and that sort of stuff as well. Moving on to the forward line, so Obafemi's just a 4.5 million forward that we're just going to keep on the bench. He could be, whoever he wants to be. I didn't go with Keenan Davis just because he would be my third Aston Villa player, and if I wanted to go for a defender or Watkins as well, then I can't do that. So I've gone with Obafemi just because he plays for Southampton, and I have none of those players. And occasionally he might get some points off the bench. We'll have to see. Antonio is someone who was in my team basically pretty much from the start. I would say the first couple of drafts he was in there alongside Watkins initially, but we now changed that up slightly. But Antonio, when fit and firing, he looked good versus Atalanta in their preseason game yesterday as well, getting a goal for himself, which was assisted by Ben Rama, although it was a bit of a mix-up at the back on Atalanta's part. But again, when he's fit and firing, he is someone who is absolute nightmare for the likes of any type of defender, fullback, center back, defensive midfielder. Doesn't matter. Antonio's just going to barrel his way through you and be sprinting in the channels constantly. And Ben Rama definitely likes players that do that, and I think that double up could be quite nice. Another reason why I haven't gone for Cresswell or Soufal, I've gone with Digne because then it'll be West Ham triple up, and that's just probably a bit too much. Don't really like to go with a triple up off the start, but we do have 4 double ups in the team with United, Liverpool, West Ham, and Villa. And lastly, Danny Ings. And he is someone who I'm still waiting to see. That could be Watkins, that could be Ings. I'm waiting to see in a little while what Aston Villa do when they play this afternoon and see where Ings is being positioned, because from the looks of it, Ings is probably going to be on penalties too. If Ings is playing through the middle on penalties, I think there's no real arguments there. I think the extra 0.5 million is going to be worth it for Danny Ings. He's going to be the focal point, and I think that for 8 million he could be an absolute bargain. Calvert-Lewin didn't play for Everton versus United. He still hasn't come back yet, whether it's injury or extended time, we don't know. So I'm going with Ings at the moment in this slot. And 3-5-2 is what we're going to be going for. Not looking to make a transfer or any pre-transfers in game week 2 if we don't have to. We'll be looking to, at Wolves assets from game week 4 onwards, Leeds assets from game week 5 onwards, Chelsea assets in game week 7, and that's potentially when I'm going to wildcard as well. I'm kind of penciled that in where we can transfer out Bruno and bring in Lukaku, which we'll talk about in the next section. Maybe Kane as well. We'll talk about that in the next section as well. But I think off the start, I think this is looking quite good. Again, we've got the 0.5 million in the bank if we want to upgrade. So maybe there's a little bandwagon or something going on. Maybe Ben Rama's not getting the game time. Maybe Buendia just is the assist of the assister or something like that. Or maybe, there's injuries that crop up. We keep that little bit extra money in the bank just in case we need it and save it for a rainy day. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at some tinkering options that we have with this draft. going into a game week 1. Now I've got the draft up on the screen as you can see here. And some of the options that we've been looking at is potentially what can we do if Kane becomes an asset again at 12.5 million? What will we do if Lukaku comes in? You know, have you considered double Liverpool defense? All of these I've definitely considered. Now, let's just start off with the double Liverpool defense because I think that's probably the most straightforward. And it would be basically Digne would be the one coming out. I think he would be the one that we would definitely remove, and we could put Robertson in there. And we, as you can see, with the money remaining, we would need an extra million somewhere to kind of to fund that. And basically, what it would boil down to is: do I want Ings? Do I want Barnes? You know, that sort of stuff. So easily we can do Barnes down to a 6.0 midfielder. So let's say Sar as an example. We can put Sar in there, and then we have no money in the bank, and we can go with those 3 like cheaper style midfielders. We can also go like Smith Rowe and then a 6.5 like a Rafinha as an example as well. Or if we were really keen on Harvey Barnes and we just think Ings really isn't doing it for us, then we can drop down to the likes of Ivan Toney, who's been often in a lot of players' drafts as well. And we'd still have the 0.5 million, as you can see, in the bank. And we'd still play 3-5-2, be still a very similar setup in that sort of regard. And it's not really changing too much. So it'd be basically Ings and Digne versus Robertson and Toney. I don't think there's much in it there at the moment. Again, Toney is someone who's still unknown at the moment. Ings, we know what we get out of him if he's playing week in, week out. Robertson, we know what we get out of him week in, week out. Digne as well. But I think for the cheaper price, spreading the money around a little bit, I think having Ings at that price point, it's all about price points here, is someone that I can more easily upgrade. So if I have Toney at 6.5 and Antonio at 7.5, I think having Ings as another striker could be someone to kind of elevate slightly to the likes of Lukaku, as an example, who, if he comes in at 10.5, we only need 2.5. So let's actually take a look at that. So if I just restore these 2 players, so at 0.5 million in squad, if like a 10.5 million striker Lukaku comes in, we'll say it's 11 even, Lukaku could be potentially an option. So it would be somewhat difficult to do, but we can always downgrade players if we need to ultimately. And I'm not opposed to taking a hit in game week 3. So you save 2 transfers and then take a hit. So I'm just going to use Jamie Vardy as an example, just because he's 10.5 and he's close to that price point. So we'll say that we have minus 2.5 million in the bank. Then it would be Digne. He would go down to a 4.0 mid defender. So let's say Veltman as an example. So we have an extra minus 1.5 to kind of go for. And then you could potentially change some things up. So if we think that Arsenal is going to do well, we can drop down to the likes of Emil Smith Rowe at 5.5 million, and we'd be on exact money there. There's many different ways that you can slice it. If you wanted to play Ayling as an example, week in, week out from game week 5 onwards, because you think Leeds' fixtures are good, and on paper they do look good, Veltman could just be a 4.0 midfielder, and then you can get a 4.0 defender, rather. Let's just say I'm just going to go Amarte, just because he might be starting for Leicester. And then you can have an extra 0.5 million if Lukaku comes in at 11 million. We could put in Sar, whose fixtures from game week 4 onwards are very good. You know, Wolves, Norwich, Newcastle, and Leeds. But we also have to think about other possible iterations as well. So if it was Kane, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. So if we just take a look at Man City's fixtures, so Grealish is also someone who's been in my team in the Barnes slot. I just didn't get enough information from that. But City, it could be more of a wait and see. You know, the Norwich at home fixture could be, you know, quite good. You know, Arsenal, I think, is a very easy fixture for them. Southampton at home could be quite good. So if you think 3 out of their first 5 are pretty good, then City, even a defender, might be okay. So we do have 0.5 million in the bank. If I find out that Watkins, you know, as an example, is better than Ings, we can take that. We'll have 1 million left in the bank, and then we can go to the likes of a Diaz as an example. He can come straight in here. Watkins can go straight in here, and we still have the 0.5 million in the bank, and that could be a little bit more secure defensively than maybe the more erratic and unknown quantity that is Everton with Rafa Benitez in there as well. So I think those are the options that I'm kind of mulling over at the moment. The only other thing that we could do is potentially change up the system. So it would be something along the lines of, it would be Ben Rama that we would drop out. Potentially Diaz would drop out. But if we went for Tony up front in a 3-4-3, I can easily change it if I choose it at the last second. And then the 4.5 million defender, we'll just go, Brownhill as an example. And then we can go any defender from 6 million or below as our third defender. So that could easily be Digne. If we do go the likes of Digne as well, we could get rid of Watkins and go with Ings. The only difference with this is that we have no money left in the bank. And that would leave us a little bit less flexible if we wanted to go, let's say, a new defender came up on, like, or Sufal was really on fire or something like that, and we wanted to go play 4 at the back. That would be something that we couldn't do if he rose in price. Basically, any price rises or price drops could hurt us without having money in the bank. Also, Tony is someone who's going to be in a lot of teams. He's already currently in a lot of teams with 30%. It's the highest I've seen in recent seasons of someone who's come up from the championship and been so highly owned. And I think he could provide some great value. But at the moment, we don't have him in the team. We have 0.5 million left in the bank. And we're sticking with Ings and Antonio up front in a 3-5-2 system. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What players you think I should be paying a little bit more attention to. Maybe some players that I've potentially overlooked and that sort of stuff. And let me know what you think of Barnes and Ben Rama. Those are kind of the two kind of punt-ish players that I'm going for. I have the mainstays in there. The Fernandez, the Salas, the Trents, the Shaws, the Dignes, the Sanchez, Antonio. Those sort of like template or whatever you want to call it players. I think in midfield, in the mid-price bracket, you can go for these kind of, maybe different spin on players, maybe a little bit of a, if you want to call it, a differential off the start. And it's something where you're not investing too much money, but they could provide and could shoot up in price. Like if Ben Rama goes off and gets a goal and assist in West Ham, massacre Newcastle like 3-0 or something, Antonio gets a goal, Ben Rama could easily be 6.2 million by the start of game week 2 or something like that. So it'd be very interesting to know your thoughts down in the comments below. And that's going to do it for my latest draft video. If you did enjoy it, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter and join our FPL League. It is in the Twitter bio. And lastly, give us a follow over on Twitch that you can see when we go live tomorrow, 7 p.m. EDT, for our first preview stream of the season. We'll be doing our preview and deadline streams all season long over on Twitch. And take advantage of that Fantasy Football Scout offer down in the description below. 20% off at the time of recording, so make sure to check that out. Use the link down in the description below. It's going to help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.